Mental models, positive thinking, and coping strategies. This is probably the most important lecture in this course, which is why it's going to be slightly longer than some of the other ones that I've done. But it'll be well worth it. And I would say favorite this, bookmark this, because you're undertaking an important journey. And in order to get through this, you're going to need to develop good positive thinking habits, good coping strategies, and positive mental models so that you can get through this. Because I'm not going to lie to you, at times this is going to be difficult, but it's well worth the effort. But in order to be able to cope, you have to develop positive thinking and coping strategies. And that's what this lecture is about. First, mental models, positive thinking, and coping strategies. We need to start by building better mental models and coping strategies because if you don't, you are likely to get burnt out and you are likely to quit even before you've had a chance to achieve any real success. One of the things that you're going to need to do, and which is confront your fears and persevere in the face of uncertainty. What do I mean by that? One of the fears that you're likely going to have, and this is pretty much for anybody in any new beginning endeavor, whether you want to become a doctor or an engineer, or in this case, a cloud engineer. One of the fears that you're going to have is I'm not good enough or I can't do this. And one of the uncertainties that you're going to face is that what if I can't do this? Or what if it doesn't work out? Or what if I can't? XYZ. Your negative self talk is going to kick in. But you have to confront your fear and you have to persevere in the face of this uncertainty. That's why it's so important to stay positive, right? Positive thinking and better mental models are going to help you overcome this fear in face of uncertainty. And when you have doubts, and you're going to have doubts, as you learn more, you're going to have self doubts and you're going to start to talk a little bit negative to yourself. It happens to everyone, and you are going to be no exception. Our objective here is to make sure that your negative self talk does not paralyze you and does not stop you from taking positive action. Meaning, if you fear, you are uncertain, that's fine. That's human. That's who you are. It's part of being who you are. That's part of being human. But you need to persevere in the face of uncertainty. And how we do that, I'm going to give you all the steps that you need in order to do that. First thing first, making time for what is important is absolutely essential. If you can't find time to do what you need to do in order to become a cloud engineer, then you need to make time. You will not have time, meaning one of us is busy, everyone has stuff to do. You will have to make time. There is no such thing as spare time, right? Which means that there are certain things that are less important that you're going to have to cut out of your life. For example, cut out television. If you watch, I don't know, 2, 3 hours of TV every day, cut that out and use that time to actually better yourself and start taking this course and the training that I'm going to provide you. There are other time wasters that are going to exist in your life. You probably have these negative habits that you need to break. For example, being on your phone or your social media, etc. These time wasters are not helping you at all progress your life further. Watching TV, what does that do for you? Okay. Sitting there on social media and watching others live their lives through Facebook, through Instagram, through TikTok. How is that helping you? You need to cut out time and you need to make time for what is important, which means that you're not going to have spare time unless you make time. So, one of the things that I talked about in the pitfalls and snake oil salesman lecture was that you can do this in your spare time, and the answer is no, you can't. You can't spare time, you have to make time. Now, for different people, the best time to learn is different. For me, my best time to learn is early in the morning. For you, it might be at night, and that's fine. If you are a late night learner and that's when you are most active and best learning, that's fine. But reserve that time and discover that time for yourself and reserve that for learning. If you are an early riser and that's when you learn best, use that time to learn. If you're a late sleeper and that's the time you learn best, use that time to learn. But remember, you have to make time. You're not going to find any spare time. You have to make time for what is important. And this is another step toward positive thinking, that if you don't make time for what is important, then what is important won't get done. One of the other positive thinking and coping strategies that you need to develop is getting others in your corner. One of the things that I mentioned in the Pitfalls and Snake Oil Salesman lecture was that you cannot do this, we can do this. What do I mean by that? You're going to need others in order to help you get across the finish line. What that means is you have to talk to your significant other. You have to let them know that you're undertaking this journey. And you have to surround yourself with people who are positive, and you have to surround yourself with people who are going to encouraging you while avoiding those who are going to basically push you in the negative direction. There's always people in our lives who are negative and who don't want us to improve our lot, right? For example, if you're working at a job and you decide that you want to do this, you want to become a cloud engineer, but others around you are struggling. And if you tell them, I'm afraid sometimes jealousy or other negative self talk of theirs kicks in, and perhaps to sabotage you, or perhaps even to not make themselves feel worse about themselves, they might start to give you negative self talk. For example, oh, somebody else tried this, it's never going to work out, you're not really smart enough, other things like that. Some people try to put you down just for the sake of putting you down. Some people try to put you down because, well, you succeeding is them, you know, diminishing. That's how they feel. So surround yourself who are going to people who are going to be positive, and avoid those negative people who are going to give you negative talk. Otherwise, this is going to become hard. You're going to need the help of others, and you're going to need the help of others in order to really progress in your career. One of the things that we're going to do is going to be in an upcoming lecture. You're going to look for mentors, and which how to look for mentors and how to find a mentor and how to engage with a mentor and set up a relationship with a mentor, I will talk about in an upcoming video. A parable for motivation that I like to talk about, which is the good and the bad wolf. It's a parable I learned a long time ago, and I think the story goes as follows: that there was once a man, an old man, who was talking and advising his son. And he said to his son, son, in all of us, there are two wolves. There's one wolf who is the good wolf, and then the one wolf, there's a bad wolf. And that these two wolves exist in all of us. The bad wolf is lazy. He is jealous, envious. He doesn't want to work. He wants to stay put. And then there's the good wolf in all of us. The good wolf is happy, is motivated, wants to work, wants to get better, and wants to do things in life. And these two wolves are constantly fighting and trying to win within ourselves. They're always in a battle within us. So the son asks his father, Father, if these two wolves are always fighting, which of these wolves wins? And the father says, the one you feed. So this bad wolf is in you. The lazy wolf who is jealous, envious, who doesn't want to do things. If you feed that wolf, meaning you engage in time wasters, you surround yourself with negative people, you engage in negative self talk, then you're feeding the bad wolf, and that wolf is going to win. But if you Engage in positive self talk. Surround yourself by people who are positive. Reward your progress. Celebrate the small victories. And don't give up. Then you're feeding the good wolf, and that good wolf is going to win. You are going to be undertaking a large journey. There's no other way to say this. This is going to be difficult. One of the things I promised myself when I started recording this course was that I was not going to lie to my students. I'm not going to say that this is going to be easy. At times, this is going to be difficult. And when it's difficult, you're going to want to quit. That happens to all of us. The negative self talk kicks in, self doubt kicks in, happens to all of us. But you have to remember to make a habit of feeding the good wolf. Remember to feed the good wolf. Some coping strategies. Recognizing negative self talk and you giving yourself positive self talk. When you're talking to yourself, and this is going to happen, sometimes you're trying to solve a problem and you're not going to succeed. And you're going to need to recognize or start to learn to recognize when your negative self talk is kicking in. And the negative self talk sounds like this. This is the bad wolf talking. I can never do this. I will never be able to do this. Life sucks. Why do I even try? I mean, this is so much work and I spent hours trying to discover this one problem. It's so much easier for other people. I'll never be as good as other people. I should just stop on like this isn't going to work out. You have to recognize when you're talking negatively to yourself. Imagine if you found a parent talking to their child like that. If you saw a parent speaking to their child like, you're just not good enough, you're worthless, you'll never be good enough, you cannot do this, what would you think about that parent? That's a terrible parent, right? That's the way you have to treat yourself. You giving yourself negative self talk, you're doing yourself an extreme disservice and you are putting yourself down. You have to remember to and recognize, learn to recognize when you're talking negatively to yourself. One of the techniques that I do, I look a little bit crazy doing this. But when I hear myself negative self talk, I go to the mirror and I repeat what I was just saying to myself to the mirror. And when I do that, it sounds so horrible. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I was saying that to myself. And then I try to switch the narrative. For example, yes, this was hard. And yes, I failed at XYZ. I couldn't solve the problem, blah, 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 whatever it is. But tomorrow is another day. I'll try harder. It works. Nobody's born doing this. Everybody had to learn this, so I'll learn it eventually. Okay? There are very few people in this world who are savants. I can't tell you that it's going to be easy because some people it is easy. For some people, they are savants. They are incredibly gifted at what they do. You might not be one of them. Take it from an average guy. I'm an average guy. Take it from an average student. I was an average student. I wasn't really an extraordinary student. If you're average, well, then that's just that. You're not too bad. You're not amazing. You're just average. And most of the software engineers, by definition of being average, are average. You can do this. It's just that you have to learn to recognize your negative self talk and you have to start to talk positively to yourself. Because none of us were born doing this. Every single one of us had to learn this. It's not like I came out of the womb and I knew how to do this, right? I had to learn this, and even those who are savants, they had to learn it. It may have been easier for them, but there was no magic pill. There wasn't a pill that they took, and all of a sudden they knew everything that they needed to know. Even they had to learn. Yes, because they're savants, because they're good at, perhaps they have genius level IQ. For them, digesting knowledge and ingesting information is easier, but there was no magic pill. They had to learn it too. And use the law of averages to work for you. Meaning, if you keep working hard, If you are one of those quote unquote average people, right? They take it from me, I'm an average person. Ultimately, if you keep working hard at something and you keep up your work and you keep applying and you keep trying to find opportunities, as you apply yourself more and more and more, ultimately, you are going to succeed. The law of averages works out in your favor, which is you are going to succeed as long as you keep at it. You have to. It's a near certainty that you are going to succeed if you just keep at it. Reward yourself for small victories, and I will have a detailed lecture on, you know, celebrating small victories later on. If you have a problem, another coping strategy that you should be using, that if you have a problem, that your negative self-talk is kicking in, you are overworked, you are things are getting hard, and why not just take a break, go to sleep, take a nap, and talk to a mentor or talk to a peer and ask for help. A lot of us, we get stuck in, oh, your ego trip comes in and like, I I should be asking for help. And yes, you should be asking for help. If your negative self-talk is kicking in, if the bad wolf is really trying to devour you, you're going to ask for help. Talk to somebody you trust, talk to a mentor, talk to a peer, ask for help. And finally, be humble. In order for you to be good at something, you have to be bad at something. Have you ever seen babies trying to walk? Imagine if a baby tried to walk, took their first step, fell, and never tried to walk again. Because, well, the baby wasn't very good at it. And it's true. When you start doing something or start learning something, you're going to be bad at it before you're going to be good at it. So be humble, check your ego, and if you are bad at software engineering or cloud engineering, or if you don't understand something, allow yourself to be bad at it, understand and appreciate the fact that, yeah, I'm not very good at it, but I'm just learning. Allow yourself to be bad at it before you are going to be good at it. I wanted to dedicate an entire slide and a lengthy amount of time to the imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, if you read about this detail, I encourage you to Google it. Imposter syndrome is when you start learning about a new topic, you're going to start to discover, you're going to learn the wide chasm of knowledge that you don't know. And what you will start to recognize is as you learn more, you will start to recognize how little you actually know. And when you recognize that, what's going to happen is your imposter syndrome is going to kick in. And that imposter syndrome goes like this, that I don't belong here. This is another method of, or another way of negative self talk, right? I don't belong here. I'm not a software engineer. I've never done this. I can't do this. I am just an imposter pretending to be a software engineer, pretending to be a cloud engineer. There's just a wide chasm of knowledge. I don't know. And one of the things that you will realize is those who are starting to become skilled at something, and you're going to start to become skilled at this endeavor, you learn a lot of things. But at the beginning, what happens is you also start to learn what you don't know. Meaning, not only do you discover something while you're learning, but as soon as you learn it, you learn what you don't know yet as well. And that chasm of what you don't know yet starts becoming wider and bigger. And when you recognize that, when you start to become skilled in it, in cloud computing or cloud engineering or software engineering, you will recognize that, oh my God, I don't know so much. There's so much left for me to discover. I'll never be good at it. I don't belong here. I'm not a software engineer. I never will be. This is another negative self talk that every single one of us has experienced. Every single one. I have experienced it. All other software engineers that I know, even those who are very good at what they do, very good at what they do, have experienced this. Because when you know something and when you learn something, you start to discover the large, wide chasm of what you don't know yet. And that chasm, as it grows larger and bigger, your negative self talk kicks in. I want you to be well aware of this imposter syndrome. And I want you to be aware that this is the bad wolf talking, and this is your negative self talk kicking in, and that every single one of us has experienced it. You are going to experience it as well. I've given you some coping strategies. Engage in positive self talk, talk to a peer, talk to a mentor, celebrate small victories, take a nap, reward yourself. All of these are going to help you in overcoming imposter syndrome. But at some level, this is going to stick with you for quite some time. I cannot wish it away. I wish I had a pill that I could give you that your imposter syndrome would go away, but it won't. So, I've given you some positive coping strategies to overcome this imposter syndrome, but you have to understand that it might stick with you a while, that you don't belong here, that you're an imposter pretending to be a software engineer or cloud engineer when you're not. So, I hope I have given you some methods of dealing. And when that imposter syndrome kicks in, I want you to realize that your negative self talk kicking in, that your bad wolf talking. And I also want you to recognize that, at least for the time being, for some time, your imposter syndrome won't go away. You can use some coping strategies that I've mentioned to overcome it, to try to overcome it. But you may not succeed initially, but eventually it does go away. So that's it for the positive and coping strategies lecture. I hope I was able to give you some good pointers. And if I were you, I would come back to this lecture over and over again. This is probably the most important lecture in this entire course. So, well, until next time.